Parents, what's been the most what the F moment that you've witnessed with how someone interacts with your child?
You know, I said it in the last video, and I'll say it again here. Adults, don't be weird around kids. And just don't, okay? Be cool. Talk with other adults and leave kids alone. Small content warning for folks. I'm pretty certain some of these stories are going to involve some borderline creepers, but hopefully nothing wildly disturbing. So just do be warned. Adults be creepy, yo. Why did I say that? Story 1. My daughter is my biological daughter. We are American. She was born in Atlanta, Georgia. She's now an adult. However, she and I have both been asked her entire life if she is adopted. Complete strangers, when they see her in person or in a photograph, will always ask where she is from. They never believe us, but oh well, LOL. Once, when she was around 13, we were in the mall and a female employee approached us in a store and started making small talk. She then starts asking about my daughter's ethnicity and commenting on how exotic she looks, how beautiful she was, etc. She starts asking if my daughter was a dancer. Not sure why. My daughter says yes. Then the woman starts asking where she danced, if she has recitals. Can she come watch sometime? She says she wished she had pictures to send back home to show her relatives because she's just so beautiful. I mean, she's just staring at my daughter like she's in a trance. Then she starts touching her face and rests her hand on her shoulder. I grabbed my daughter by the hand and left. Touching my kid crosses the line. What the heck? Your daughter is beautiful? She must be adopted? Seems like such a backhanded compliment. I know that a lot of older people, like 70s and 80s and stuff, touching other people is a little more okay to them. I grew up as a kid with adults, oh, they'll touch all over and stuff, but that was usually your grandparents and stuff. Strangers, just touching kids and stuff, don't do that. That's weird and rude and creepy. They're people. Don't. Story 2. This happened to me when I was a kid. We were on our annual camping trip with my cousins at a lake we go to every year. We were ages 11, 10, and 8. While swimming by the shore, an elderly man approached us and asked if he could take some underwater photos of us. He said he was a photographer and proceeded to show us an album of all these underwater photos he took, all being young girls in bikinis. Thankfully, my dad and uncle saw the whole thing, stepped in, told him to scream, and reported him to the park ranger. None of us realized at the time that we were in potential danger and felt bad for how our dads treated the man. Looking back on it as an adult, I realize how sinister things could have gone. Stop being creepy! Old man, if you're not a creep, why are you doing that? You have to know. You would have to know if you were a normal person, if I asked to take underwater pictures of these boys, it's gonna come off a little creepy. So either you know and you're just trying to push past it and you're a decent person who's just a little weird, or you're a creep. Either way, don't do it.
Story 3. When my oldest was a few months old, my cousin came to visit. They asked whether I had started giving my daughter ice baths yet. Now, a bit of background. We are all Russian, Ukrainian immigrants, and popular in the Soviet times was the theory of Stolenya, adjusting the body to cold weather for supposed health reasons. I was subjected to it. I did not enjoy it because I am a mammal who doesn't enjoy torture, nor do I enjoy torturing any small children, much less my own. Anyway, no, I tell my cousin, and she launches into a long explanation of how they did ice baths for their son when he was an infant, and how he hated it, and how it was good for him even though he cried. I am sure the expression I wore on my face can best be described as, what the heck? My cousin's explanation peters out as she points at her husband and yells, "He made me do it!" Story 4. When my oldest was about 2 months old, I was still on maternity leave. I had a homeless, I suspect, woman approach me and ask if she could have my baby. We were living in a not-so-great area of a suburb of Dallas, a place where we'd sometimes get homeless 40-plus-year-olds trick-or-treating by themselves on Halloween. I'd just taken my baby to the doctor for a checkup. It was probably a week after I'd been cleared to drive after an emergency C-section. This crazy woman who I'd never seen on my street before and who looked and smelled like she hadn't bathed in at least a week approached me as I struggled to get the baby carrier out of the car. She said my baby was beautiful and asked if she could keep it for a while. I said no, so she asked if she could babysit. I said no thanks and made a limping break for the front door. I locked the door and called my husband for help. She hung out around the front porch for half an hour before he made it home. We moved away from that area a month later.
Look, I feel really bad for homeless people, and I try to, give to charities and help out in whatever ways that I can. There are people who are often down on the luck, have been screwed over by society and need a hand. That being said, if you're trying to get people's children and stuff like that, that's not okay. Like, I feel bad for you. I want you to get help. I do not want you to take someone's child, please.
Story 5. My 3-year-old daughter is allergic to strawberries. Oh, my mother-in-law and aunt-in-law both know this and have been asked multiple times to not keep them where she can find them. A few weeks ago, I went to pick her up from their house, and I found her sitting at the bar eating strawberries with them. I went frigging ballistic. They said they didn't see the harm, and of course not. They weren't the ones who had to comfort her for the following 24 hours while she was covered from head to toe with hives and having explosive diarrhea. I no longer allow her to be over there unless my husband and I are there too. I can't trust them not to do it again.
First off, I feel terrible for your daughter because strawberries are just one of my favorite things. My favorite flavor in the world is artificial strawberry. I mean, I drink so many of these little bad boys and stuff, but I've seen this where there are like other people, usually older relatives, who don't treat allergies seriously. And I feel like those people need to be at least lightly smacked upside the head. Like, you don't get to decide what's serious for my child. 'Kay?
Story 6. When my son was around 8 months old and I was changing him in the bathroom, a woman came out of the stall, strangely surveyed my diaper change practices, then proceeded to tell me how my son had a big penis before leaving without washing her hands. Story 7. My aunt took me and my cousin to an antique shop when I was 9 and my cousin was 7. The shop owner kept saying we were pretty as peaches and ran his thumb over my cousin's mouth. I was so anxious for her, but was too scared to say anything. On the way home, my aunt called us W's. I went from wanting to punch that man to wanting to kill your aunt. My mom called me a W once because I got changed with the curtains open. I don't understand why adults think it's okay to S-alize children like that. Story 8. I had my 11-day-old out at a restaurant for my sister's birthday. I was wearing her in a wrap. A woman came up to me, commented about the baby, and tried to lift her out of the wrap, saying, "It's okay, I work at a school." No, B, it isn't okay. Breaking into someone's house? Oh, hey, it's okay, I work as a housekeeper. Story 9. Apparently, when I was a baby, a woman came up to me on a train and said hi to me and played with me for a second, then took one of my feet and put it in her mouth. Oh, my parents switched carriages after that, thank God. What the actual frick is wrong with people?
Don't do that.
Story 10. My siblings are twins. When they were very little, maybe 6 months, we went to Walmart. People are fascinated with twins, so we get random strangers asking us questions about them all the time. One time my mom and I were fastening them into their car seats, and this little old lady wanted to see how cute they were, so she climbed into our minivan to get a better look. She didn't mean any harm, but still, 7-year-old me was creeped out. Story 11. I took my 4-year-old and 1-year-old nephews out to the park a couple months ago. While they were running around chasing each other in the grass, this woman comes out of nowhere, grabs my older nephew, and starts sort of petting his hair. I bolted towards him as soon as I saw her reaching for him and grabbed him within 5 seconds of her picking him up, and then grabbed the younger nephew in case she tried to go for him next. I've never seen this woman before in my life and have no idea why she thought it was okay to grab a stranger's child. Story 12. An employee at Target once told my 6-year-old that based on how she was drinking from a water bottle, she would probably be really popular with the boys in high school, maybe even middle school. Target took friggin' forever to respond, and it's possible that employee is still there. Oh my God, what the heck? Story 13. One of my ex-husband's aunts was obsessed with my daughter. She was constantly trying to separate my daughter and I so she could be alone with her. Like she'd offer to change or feed her and take her to a separate room away from me. I can honestly make a list of some of the weird things she's done. Probably one of the best things was when my daughter was 2. She was toddling around being her normal, cute self. Aunt reaches out and slaps/grabs my daughter's bottom and says, "Such a tight, cute little butt." I start yelling at her. Everyone thinks I'm blowing it out of proportion.
Can I just go on my soapbox for a second? And I know that this is going to be kind of a blanket statement. It's not true for everyone. But I feel like when I come across people who treat children like this, they are simultaneously the same kind of people who complain when there is, a woman and a woman kissing in a Disney film, and they're like, "Don't force that kind of stuff on my children. They're children. They shouldn't have that." But those people do it. I'm just tired of them.
Story 14. I just finished up dinner at a diner with my 3-year-old son, and we were in line to pay. I said, "Stay next to me, Finn," and some older dude walking out stopped and said, "You shouldn't say his name outside. I could use that later to do stuff." I went from 1 to 10 in a millisecond and it got heated. He walked away, then some 70-plus-year-old tried to pick up my son to console him while his wife yelled at him to stop. I was a little frazzled by the time we got home to the wife. Story 15. My niece's grandma is strange. She took my sister and 6-month-old niece through the drive-thru of Whataburger and actually bought the baby a chicken nugget kids meal with a Coke. Also, she recorded a very eerie video of herself singing my niece's name to her with the flash just inches from her face when she was a few days old. It's very uncomfortable to watch. My sister refuses to watch it. The more and more I read these, the more I think that some people treat babies like dogs, and it explains almost all of the things they are doing/saying, LOL.
Rebecca, go to sleep, Rebecca. Grandma's here. Grandma will always be here.
Story 16. When I was a little over a year old, my parents took me to a Blockbuster so they could pick up a couple movies. An elderly man approached them and offered to buy me for $10,000. They thought he was joking at first, but no, he was dead serious trying to buy me. This happened to my mom as well when she was a little kid. This was in the 1960s. Some old woman approached my grandfather on their street and said she wanted to buy my mom because she had beautiful curly hair. My grandfather understandably said no. The lady got upset and said she had too many kids. She had 7, and that it would be fine to sell one.
Who offers to buy a kid? Don't offer to buy a kid. If I had kids, I will never have kids. I don't want them in a world with you people. But if I had kids and you came to me and you're just like, "I will buy your child for $10,000. I'd hit you. I would hit you and I'd grab my child and I'd run away.
Story 17. My youth pastor would apparently say some borderline things to my mom about my sister and I. Unrelated, my mom was getting less into the church every single Sunday routine and sending us to youth group on Saturday nights because we were busy with school and sports. Then one night, the youth pastor drunk dialed my mom and left a message on the answering machine begging her to come back to church because he missed seeing your beautiful, beautiful girls. Then I didn't have to go to church anymore. Yay! Story 18. Told my mother-in-law to not give my toddler coffee. She proceeded to dip her finger in her coffee and put it in my toddler's mouth. It's a friggin' toddler. Do they need more energy? The fact that she did it right after you told her not to is what would make me mad, no matter what it was. You are the parent. Story 19. We were at Walmart during a serious regional water outage, so it was absolutely swamped with people looking for bottled water. A friend of my mother-in-law was there, unknown to us, and without any warning came up from behind and tried to lift our infant son from my wife's arms. This, of course, sent my wife into a panic since she thought it was an attempted abduction using the crowd for cover, and she was still on edge even after recognizing the woman. Neither mother-in-law nor her friend understood why my wife was so upset with the woman. We don't really talk to the woman or her family anymore, and mother-in-law still thinks we're too hard on her friend.
Yeah, you were not too hard on your mother-in-law's friend. Frankly, your mother-in-law's friend is lucky that she didn't get a fist to the face. You don't just come and scoop up someone's child in a, crowded public place when it's a serious water outage. People might be cramming around there, big panickiness. No, don't do that crap. My God, what is wrong with these people?
Story 20. When my son was about 2, my husband was at the store with him, and a lady came up and said, "Your son's hair is gorgeous. Where do you get his highlights done?" Husband came over and asked if people actually get their toddler's son's hair colored. No, not the sane people. Have him watch an episode of Toddlers and Tiaras to see what kind of people dye a toddler's hair. Story 21. This happened to me when I was about 3 years old. My mom told me about this a year ago. Some guy who was known as Dr. House in our village because of his insane drug use and his appearance walked up to me in a park and started talking to me in baby language, goo goo gaga blah blah blah, etc. My mom thought he was just being funny, but he became really angry when he heard I could actually talk. He lifted me in the air and stumbled away with me in his hands yelling, "Little liar!" A guy who was also in the park then tackled our beloved doctor and brought me back to my mom. I'm surprised he didn't diagnose you with lupus. Story 22. First time my mother-in-law met my son, he was maybe 2 weeks old. She walked in the front door from the airport, sat down, and I let her hold him. She smiles and then stares straight into his eyes and turns to me and says, "He's so beautiful. I want to see him cry." Turns to baby, "Will you cry for Grandma?" We all just stared at her dumbfounded. Who does that? I can't even remember how I responded, honestly.
I love grandmas so much. I miss my grandma dearly. My grandma was amazing. Granny facts? The best. What is with the creepy grandmas? Will you cry for Grandma? I want to see you cry.
Story 23. Nothing as bad as the rest of these, but at age 4 or so, my kid asked a 5 or 6-year-old at the public pool if she wanted to play, and the kid gave her a look like the question was insane. But what the heck was the mom's reaction? "Why was that girl talking to you? Do you know her?" And then the mom looks at my kid and she's got 3 heads for daring to ask another child in a public pool to play. By their appearance and lack of accent, they were Midwestern Americans, so there wasn't a cultural reason for the what the heck. Story 24. Old man in a mobility scooter told my about 4-year-old daughter how pretty she is and offered her to climb up on his lap and go for a ride. This more in a flirtatious voice than you would use with a young child. She's 7 now and has always been fairly outgoing, but I have never seen her instantly afraid of someone like she was with that man. I was pretty shook up once my brain was able to process the whole exchange. Good on her for following her instincts at such a young age. Story 25. We were invited to a neighbor's party. At this party was another woman I'd never met before who asked if she could hold my 6-month-old baby. No problem, he's adorable. She then proceeds to kiss him on the mouth and said, "There, remember that I was your first kiss." I immediately took him back and had to avoid her the rest of the evening without being seen as the rude one in the party. She didn't take hints well either.
What the F? I'm sorry. And I'll throw it out there. If this was a man doing that to a young girl, I feel like that would be much more easily called out. But it's not okay. Either way, that's just weird. That is a weird thing with a 6-month-old boy. Like, he's not going to remember it, but I am.
Story 26. I've been a what the heck person. I grabbed a child and sped off with him. I was ice skating and zoomed unintentionally towards this kid. He wasn't small enough to go under my legs, so I grabbed him and we both slowed to an awkward halt. I apologized profusely to the parents. Hey, you apologized, and it was a total accident. At least you didn't plow him over. You saved him from getting a face full of ice after your directional screw-up. Story 27. My mother-in-law thought it was a good idea to lick my daughter's hands clean after lunch. She put her whole tiny hand in her mouth. Ugh.
Stop putting children's hands and feet in your mouth.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.